All right, here with Christina of Manizza's, an Unsliced graduate, one of the first Unsliced graduates. And first and foremost, I wanted to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, say what you're up to, tell everyone what is Manizza's and your history getting into the restaurant game.
Sure. So thanks for having me. I'm Christina Martin. I own Manitz Pizza located in Las Vegas, and this is my third restaurant concept. I got into the restaurant industry when I was a personal trainer on maternity leave with my daughter and started preparing healthy meals delivered to people all over Las Vegas and got way ahead of my skis with that. And we were doing big revenue, big numbers, huge staff, making a big impact. And I was taking zero or fewer dollars home every week. And it was an absolute nightmare. And so, in an effort to drive more revenue and just try to maximize our space, we opened up a pizzeria at the end of or mid 2019. And we already had the space. I already had the staff. My general manager had run a Domino's, and the chef I had on staff had owned a pizzeria. So I figured less intelligent people than I am have figured this out. And I dove into the pizza world, made my first pizza 10 days before we opened, and we're somehow still alive to tell the story.
So you open very like that's I have an awareness of where it's a shotgun approach to opening. I think either people were raised in it or it's a shotgun approach. You had the shotgun approach. Pizza wasn't like you're not opposed to pizza, but being a restaurateur and maximizing the value of it was something that you were doing a few times over. So when you got in, what were like the oh crap moments that you had?
Even just learning how to make dough. Like I learned by scooping flour by the numbered scoopful. I had no idea what we were doing. And so from that all the way to how to market it and like how to make pizza in a quick, efficient way. And so we had the meal prep going and jamming all day, and pizza, I just learned kind of shooting from the hip the whole time.
And you were off to the races quick. Like the product was never an issue, but operationally, like, oh, you want to tell people how I came to find you or how you came to find me, perchance? This is a good
Yes.
one.
So at Pizza Expo, what must have been fall of 2018 or early spring of 2019, it's a little fuzzy. I sat in on one of your seminars, and within a couple of minutes, I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm actually going to sit here for the entire hour, whatever it was scheduled. And you had brought up something about Amazon Alexa in the kitchen. And I was like, that's genius. My chef's going to hate this, but we're doing temp logs for 80 different items at a time for the meal prep company. We need a way to systemize. And I just knew the second I implemented that and I had an immediate fix for a lot of headaches, I was like, what other nuggets can I get from you that are going to make my life better? Because this is infinitely better out the gate. And so,
And that was just an offhanded that was like an offhanded comment. Like if you don't have a timer, you could use your phone. You can Alexa it. Like it wasn't I think people overcomplicate basic problems when your phone could do so many things. And that was the thing that led you to be like, this guy, this is where it's at right here.
And because I got so much pushback from my staff, I knew it was the right thing to do because they would be on their phones. I mean, it was just this, then you got to rewash your hands. It's a whole thing. And so I implemented something that was a little techier, and immediately my life got better because you can also have it dictate to your phone all the temps, temp the turkey. And I've got her programmed at 20 minutes, at 40, at 2 hours. Right. And so I was like, systems, awesome. And so I leveraged a lot of that in the meal prep, and I really wasn't following you for pizza at all. I just YouTubed my way through that looks right. That looks inconsistent. How do I fix an inconsistency? And so I went from doing it all myself with a little 4-deck Baker's Pride, the size of a microwave. And we were kicking out good volume. I mean, I had 200 pizza orders at the time. Like it was a nightmare. But
yeah, and like I said, your issues were never really pizza related. And as much as I come from the pizza world, I when I met you, you were like, you had read the book, you saw me speak, and I had met you really just prior to launching the program, and I thought you would be ideal for it. And when I brought it up to you, because you're one of the first adopters, what made it be like, I didn't have to convince you at all, which is nice. I wasn't like, hey, would you like to do this? You're like, yes. What made it an obvious for you?
I know the value of a mentor and someone who's been where I'm at and is where I want to go and has walked my path. I I don't need to hire a restaurant consultant who's an outside person that's like, yeah, hit this stat and do this number and good luck. I mean, you were in the thick of it. I mean, on the tail end of the thick of it, but at least you got it. And I don't know if you recall this, but I physically ran into you at Pizza Expo. I had a sinus infection. I couldn't see straight. I felt terrible. I was smiling like in all the photos with everyone and napping in my car. I did not feel well, but I wanted to be there. And I just collided with you on the floor. And I word vomited like, sorry, oh fuck, you're Mike Bausch, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was so embarrassed, but you handed me your phone, your dot card situation. And I was like, this guy has a system for like collecting people's information like, this guy is so systems oriented and I'm flying by the seat of my pants. And so how do I just attach myself to Mike Bausch's success path and do what he's done without having to? With Dice Kitchen, I had to invent the wheel. I had to invent the type of business license. I had to fight with the health department on how it was a new thing. Pizza is not a new thing. I just need someone smarter than me that's done it that can point me in the right direction, and I'll run the play, and then I'll eventually make it my own play. Sold.
So, well, thank you. Yeah, and I think we both like backed into each other, and then you're like, "Oh, you," and it was great. That was the first time I met you, and you were like locked in and ready to rock. When you signed up though for the course, not knowing what it would be, I'm curious, what was your biggest challenge at that moment?
So at this point, I had sold Dice Kitchen. We closed Stella's Pizza to relocate, and I had Manitz's Pizza open for the better part of a year. And I was still working the line alone, mostly bell to bell, missing more time with my kiddo. I had this vision for Manitz's to not be a cog in the wheel. And while I created some systems that are a lot of common sense, and I wanted to not be in it, in an effort to save on labor, which I thought was a good investment of my time, I was just doing it all myself and I'm killing myself. And I started really hating it. I was like, I mean, I was 6 months in, like, I've made a mistake. How do I undo this? Can I sell it? Like, what do I need to go do something else. And I don't know what that looks like, but it's not this. And so that's where I was at come Pizza Expo when I ran into you. And so when you and Dave were like, hey, we're piloting a course on how to restaurant, I was like, I'll be the guinea pig, sign me up. And I think the rest is history at this point.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Like, so since then, what's the biggest change you've seen through your business since starting Unsliced?
Two things. So my biggest hurdle when it came to running my business was doing my own financials. I either relied on a bookkeeper at one point, and I have a partner who does that, but he travels and it's not always as consistent as I would like it to be. And so I'm always retro, just gaining information rather than forward thinking, forecasting and making changes. And so for me, being able to have kind of a dumbed down elementary version of here's how to do your P&L, here's how to do your inventory, here's how to do your costing model, rather than just have someone else do it. And 3 years ago, that's what cheese costs. Now I can just plug it in and I have so much more visibility. So for me, on one hand with that, I can make decisions better and I'm way more confident as a business owner. I had all these accolades and you're killing it, your pizza's great and Yelp reviews, but I didn't feel like in my core that I knew what the hell I was doing because I didn't understand the financials. And now that's my favorite part and it's what I spend my time and energy on. But in addition to that, on a personal level, I'm at my shop like 5 to 7 hours a week, and that's generous. That's not that I don't do anything. I can do a lot remotely or from home, play on Canva when my kid's at jujitsu or whatever, but I'm not making the pizza, taking the orders, doing all of that stuff that I could really easily pay someone else to do. And I'm enjoying owning the business and driving it, not being in it all the time because I was losing my mind trapped behind my counter.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I met you, I went to go because you were in Vegas, and I was like, well, the show's in Vegas. Let's check out your restaurant. You were alone in your restaurant. You're like, come check out my pizza shop. I'm like, cool. I was like, you're alone right now, right? Yeah. That's not what you should do, Christina.
No, my ego was still like this big, and I was like, I could do it myself. And you were like, I thought you were going to rip me right on the spot, but you started giving me all this feedback. And normally I can vibe with people like you and think and absorb information quickly. And when you were outpacing my ability to put all those nuggets in my pocket, I was like, I need to have a sit down with pen and paper, which has then turned into the course, which is great. But you were firing off everything from marketing to delegating. And I was like, I got orders coming in right now. I gotta go. So
Yeah.
I was glad that you saw me busy, but that was my ego. I just wanted you to see that I was like kicking ass, but really, like, what are we talking
Yeah.
about?
So, well, and I'm glad that you're at this position now where you have all your time back and it's just for you guys to do what you want. In terms of the ROI, what is it? How would you define what it is now that you as your ROI today?
A lot. When it comes to our finances, we've more than doubled our revenue year over year, which is amazing. It's exciting to see. And every week that I'm doing it, we still have weeks that are a headache. And I'm like, oh, we had to fix that appliance, get the grease trap. Like I had all those things, but they're becoming more and more boring and they're on schedule and they're planned. And so if I have a week that's not super profitable, I have a really, really good reason why. And then next quarter, I can space some of that out, but I can forecast now. But as far as ROI on the course, even just negotiating better prices with my vendors alone and getting rebates and things like that, like more than took care of whatever the investment of the course was at the time. I don't even remember what it was initially, but it was a no-brainer. And then from a time perspective, I mean, last year in February, so 2023, I had a GM, I had a staff. I wasn't working all the time and I felt kind of guilty about that, but I still had to cancel a family trip less than 48 hours before we were supposed to go with friends. And like we had this whole ski trip to Utah planned. And my daughter was so excited to play in the snow because we live in the devil's armpit in the desert. And so I had to cancel that because my business didn't have like any sort of structure behind it. And so when my GM just went off the rails in his personal life, I had to jump in and handle everything. And we canceled that. And now, I mean, it was less than a year later, Justin and I were in Mexico. And I'm leaving my phone in the room like, they've got it. All is good. And he's like, I've never seen you like this. I'm like, I know. Who is she? And so not that I just want to collect mailbox money, but having my time back is huge. And that's even better for me than the revenue that we're driving.
I mean, I love that. That's the whole reason why, I created this was for that and to reach people outside of my local circle. And you've really taken the stuff and leaned into it and let it just maximize your life without any ego and the humility to be like, hey, let's get something smarter. So, I mean, you're one of the first graduates of the course, just killing it across the board on your terms, though. A lot of people do things different. Some people want to take it and like open store too. Some people want to do it and package it because they want to retire. Yours is a little bit different. You just wanted to like let this thing be that and just have more freedom to do what you want to do.
I was really inspired when you brought Tony Troiano into the course. And for me, the other big part of Unsliced is having that community. And it sounds cheesy, like I want to be part of a mastermind. Like there's so much of that out there. But to be able to see Tony Troiano on a Friday or Saturday night with 20 or 30 delivery drivers of his own. And I'm like, this guy's making money and doing well with one store. I thought I wanted to open 100 when I first started. I was like, I probably shouldn't put this on YouTube. Do you know that I had an undercover job at Domino's? Have we talked about that?
Oh, we have not talked about it. I was going to explain who Tony Troiano is, but by all means, explain your undercover job first at Domino's. I want to hear about this.
So just don't get me in trouble or sued with what you put on the internet.
Apparently, the Domino's people are going to come after you. I can't protect you from
that. Listen, I need your help on that. But
you're going to need to avoid the Noid, Christina.
I trust you. You just bleep out the name. But so when we were in the middle of COVID and I signed the lease for Manitz's in September of 2020, like a psychopath. And so I knew based on my existing kitchen layout that I needed a way smarter way to lay out my kitchen. And you talk about working in circles. I didn't really know you then that well at all. I didn't have that information. Yeah. And so I was like, I'm watching it take 11 or 12 minutes in my little figure 8 shaped kitchen to get a dough ball into the oven. And that's when we're not busy. And I knew there had to be a more efficient way to operate. And so I got myself an undercover job at a big box pizzeria and I wore my face mask and my glasses. And within 2 shifts, they asked me to be the general manager and go open a new store. And I was like, I've infiltrated way too far. Like, I'm going to have to back this up a little bit. They're like leaving me alone in the store. And I was like,
no, to try to be incognito, you're like Listen, she doesn't have a drug problem. Let's make her the president of the company. All
My
right, well,
favorite text message from the regional something was, I know talent when I see it. And I was like, oh, God, gone too far. But I did learn quickly that they're not just a pizza company. I mean, they're a tech company and the product is pizza,
yeah.
but to be able to see the online ordering, the way the line is laid out, the way the team, they asked me to go fill in at other locations, and I just saw system. And I learned more in my first 4-hour shift than I did in 4 hours at Tulane, or 4 years at Tulane. Like, I went to my car after and just voice memoed, word vomited forever so I could just remember all this information. And my brain hurt for days. I was like, there's so much I don't know. And so I think that when I had the opportunity to partner with you, I was like, duh, because I know there's a lot of stuff I don't know. And I built Manitz's. I mean, it's beautiful, it's efficient. But anyway, I guess to circle back, my goal is not to open 100 stores anymore. I love having one. It's super efficient. I have a great lifestyle, and I get to do other things now too, which is important to me.
I love that for you as well. And you mentioned the community, you took to it very well, and you get in what you put in, and knowing people. We mentioned Tony Triano. Tony Triano owns JB Alberto's in Chicago, and that store is a juggernaut of sales, and he does it old school. He's been there since he was a kid. But again, he's in the program because he never really systemized anything. He just relied on putting more weight on his own back at the single unit. And whether or not you're one store looking to kill it, 8 stores needing more systems, or pre-open, I think you're a great example of all those things. You've done all of it, and your ability to take info and act on it is your superpower too. Like, don't sleep on that. Your ability to take it, learn it, do it. The do part is why you're so trainable and why you're so successful in this.
Sure. I could see how someone just absorbs the information. It's like the difference between your book and the course, right? Like, you can hear information, but unless you're going to physically download documents, do it, fill it out, implement it with your team, implement it into your daily and weekly cadence, you're just absorbing information. My labor cost should be below 30. Awesome. But what does that actually look like? Like, are you doing it though? Or are you just, do you know that should be what it is, but it's not there? So Groundhog's Day. I mean, you have to implement. But yeah, Tony's been a huge asset in my life, just not even from that, but everything with Uber. Like, I had people to call and that have been in my shoes and get it. And he inspires me, even though he needs to systemize to retire. That showed me like he can be that successful and still have it all on his back. I don't want to be there. I want to be in his position plus unsliced so I can retire and the show goes on. And so that was a little bit of a wake up for me when he joined. I was like, dang, okay, cool. Like, I knew this was legit, but this is super legit.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you. So you're doing your thing. You're killing it. We want more awesome people in our community because it's my community. You're a part of it. More of what would you say to people who are watching this that are like, I don't know, or maybe this is good for them? What is your main takeaway of what you would tell anyone else who's an independent restaurant owner debating if this is right for them?
I think that if you're an independent restaurant owner watching this in the first place, you at least have a little bit of your ego checked enough to know that you need help. And so you could continue on the path that you're on, maybe eventually figure it out. A lot of people do that aren't Mike Bausch, right? Like, some people find success. Or you could do the course, know that you'll have proven success, and live the rest of your life 60 to 90 days from now out successful. So it really is a matter, do you want to spend time and money and headaches for the next 2 to 10 years or 20 like you and hope to get it figured out, or give yourself a hell of a chance by Christmas, right? Or whenever this airs, and get going and have your life back in 90 days. And so that's what I would say to someone who's on the fence. Like, why struggle longer?
I'll leave it on that. Christina, tell people where they can.
Like to struggle and have something to complain about. There are people who love red lights.
There are people who love to complain, and they're not a fit for our group. Every single person in our group is someone who wants to be better. They've checked their ego, and they're like, you know what? I want to be around people who are on the path to being successful. I want to be around Mike Bausch, who's got it figured out, and I want to make myself better. But sometimes it's easier to just suck and just say, my life sucks, and sit in the poop and not make a change. And some people love that.
Some people do. You are correct.
Not a fit. But if you're not a person who likes to sit in your own doo-doo and want to be successful, this is the arena to get into.
I can't say it better. If you don't want to sit in a pool of your own fecal matter, then by all means.
Escalate.
But in a rephrased way, if you're a doer, game on. If you're a don'ter, stay home.
Yeah.
Christina, where can people find you and your restaurant?
Sure. Mostly Instagram, Manitz's Pizza Parlor, or my personal one, CH Backstar. And all the behind the scenes and the fun stuff of owning a restaurant, momming, and doing jujitsu all the time. Because I have
and that's your passion, and your restaurant fulfills your passion, not you fulfilling and being a glorified employee. Thank you, Christina. And if you want to be like Christina, then you're going to learn jiu-jitsu and a bunch of other stuff, but also get Unsliced. Go to getunsliced.com. We'll schedule a call, and maybe it's me on a call. Maybe it's a former graduate. Maybe it's even Christina on the call, because we are all about spreading the message to other restaurant owners that it doesn't need to be so bad. Christina, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
Are we the best podcast duo ever? That was
We're
great.
the best. Do you want to see pictures of me in my